I'm gonna go get some food before I say something stupid.
You should definitely title this analysis video something Uma Musume. Something Uma Musume.
Staying alive, staying alive. What if he's my brother from Bob D? Most likely. It was that tracksuit
Yeah, well,
golfer
with the
with
track,
the peaches. I walked right into that one, did I? God damn. Only disappointed that they couldn't hear.
don't worry, it's just yes.
Oh yes, the great
Yes.
scholar Bofadis. Have fun.
Who was that?
Good evening, infidels. Hello there. Okay, I am good to go. I just got the tweet out. Do me a favor, chat, and go give it some love. I've also got today's sauce, So we should be good on that count. What's new? Nothing much. What did you call us? I called you an infidel. Would you prefer the term heathen? Alright, then let's get started. Bonk. Hello, everybody. Here is today's artwork. Go give the artist some love. Hello, Zafir. Sorry, just moving some stuff around. Okay. We prefer men of culture. Thank you very much. Degenerates. Is that what you like to be called? But yeah, nah, it's not too much going on today. We did have the JP stream. I'm sure I speak for everyone when I say that we are all collectively disappointed that it was not the 30 million download campaign. But the stream that we got was actually rather good. It was pretty nice. They announced basically JP's entire anniversary. They showed off some stuff. They had the three big developers there, and we got some free courts basically out of it. So it was pretty nice. But yeah, it was much ado about nothing, and I'm sure everyone's gonna go like, "Oh yeah, but Cad, didn't you read?" And it's like, yeah, we all read. We all read that the post originally said that there was going to be no new servant announcement or no new event. But it was very possible that that could have easily meant a download campaign. And we still might get that. But it's so much to the point, chat, that several of the JP people that I follow, I'm not talking English speaking people, several of the Japanese speaking people out there in the community also thought this was going to be a download campaign. So it's really nothing like, oh man, we whiffed or anything like that. It was just, that was kind of the expectation going into that. It's kind of what people were hoping for, and it is not what we got. That being said, this stream isn't out of the ordinary. They do normally announce and make a big to-do about JP's anniversary. Especially ahead of time, because they usually like to build up to it. They start doing these, again, craft essence reveals leading up to it now that they've been doing the past couple of years. But it's also meant usually to allow people to have time to make plans, because on the JP side of things, anniversary is a very big deal. They end up kind of mentioning it far ahead of time so that people had time to actually schedule their time off and time to be at these certain things. And JP's anniversary does move around. It's not like NA's where it's pretty much locked in on Anime Expo every single time. Theirs kind of bounces around quite a bit depending on the availability of the venue that they may be renting and depending on their own schedule and plans. So it's why they kind of always do this. And it's still nice to kind of hear from that. I will say it's interesting as well that we are getting both the top two reruns. I assumed we were probably only going to get one rerun, so that's pretty nice. We basically are going to have that starting literally on the 17th. So we're going to be getting the Summer 6 rerun first, and then we're going to be getting Lilum Harlot. So you guys know now that you'll be having a Draco banner that will return. I could say the devs played us like a fiddle, but we knew we were going to have a banner for them regardless. And basically that ended up being the... I do think that they are stalling. It's very obvious to me that the JP devs are stalling basically. That will last them through June. So it's going to be the rest of May and through June pretty much that we have all of this. And then we'll probably get something new in July, either a lotto or again, like Trub's possibly hypothesized, maybe even an early summer. And then we'll get the anniversary. So I think they're going to end up giving us more, but it's pretty clear that this is meant to be basically a month and a half of dead time for them. They can sit there and they can make all these claims about how difficult it is to do reruns all they want, but it is pretty clearly being used as a sort of stalling tactic by the devs. So it's why, like I said, I do think there's at least some partial truth to the original dev statements about reruns are not as easy to do as people think they are, but that it is also not as hard to do as the devs would have you believe, and that they probably are using it as a means to an end to buy themselves some time. So I think we can at least look at that and say this is exactly kind of what we talked about. JP has been doing very good in the early portion of this year, and they are now going into at least more of a stalling pattern where they are buying themselves some time. That being said, if you're going to stall, this is the way to stall. This is how they used to stall in the past, was with reruns. So I have to give them credit for that, as they are at least going to do the things that the community wanted in that regard. I don't know when we'll get the 30 million downloads campaign, hopefully soon, but it could happen during any of the events. It could happen after that in July or something like that. I would count on it happening sooner rather than later. And the reason for that being that they will probably likely wish to keep the download campaign somewhat separate from Anniversary, because they've already said that they would like to make the download campaign bigger than the 20 million one, and the 20 million one was a huge download campaign. So I think giving out things like a free SSR or something are not off the table, and if they're going to do something like that, you kind of probably don't want it near all the other GSSRs and stuff that are going to be happening at Anniversary. So they'll probably try to give it a little bit of padding in there in the middle. What I would say as well is that it's going to be interesting to see, but I think it'll probably happen in the third week of one of the events, and my guess right now would be the third week of the Summer 6 rerun is likely where they'll do it. Partially because Summer 6 is a miniature lotto, and it's very likely that you'll have something like either all embers available or half cost embers while the download campaign is going on. So it makes sense that they would maybe overlap those two things to kind of give the players this difficult choice of, do I grind more in the event or do I grind some in the download campaign? And it's usually done again in that third week because that's the most dead week of the event. So I could easily see that being the case. How does Charlie compare to Karen? I mean, Karen and Charlie are both going to be AoE quick. So to me, Karen is going to be, someone that's going to be neutral against everything. Whereas Charlie is going to be someone that's going to be neutral against a ton of stuff, but basically have, at least one of the classes that he'll be effective against, and then one of the classes that he will be literally ineffective against. So there's an upside and a downside to him. I think if it's coming down to like raw damage capability, I probably would actually go with Karen, but that's because she's already had her NP interlude. She has quite a bit of damage scalability, and it's up to you to determine whether or not Charlie would be somebody that you would think you would need. If you really like Charlie and you like his kit, go with Charlie, but at the end of the day, I would tell you that if you have Karen, you're perfectly fine. You don't have to get Charlie. But yeah, so that's my current thought process here, is we are probably still going to get a download campaign. When it happens, I don't know, but I'm going to guess it's probably going to be the third week of the Summer 6 event. So my speculation would be look for a download campaign probably early June. So sometime in that like first week or two of June, and that's probably when you'll have it. Didn't the Summer 6 have a ton of lures too? Yeah, I mean, I'm sure people rolled it for a couple of reasons, not the least of which is going to be the fact that it actually has Da Vinci Ruler. And Da Vinci Ruler is one of the few welfares that has not returned. She's not in the Evocation Festival. She's not achievable otherwise. So I think a lot of people wanted that one to come back. And that was, I believe it was Summer 6 was the first ever summer event that did not rerun. So I'm sure to a degree, a lot of people were like, man, we just missed out there. Like I said, I kind of had a similar strategy for why I voted for Summer 7 out of all of them, and that was to get another crack at the units on those banners, as well as another crack at the Assassin Valkyries. So I personally won't complain about reruns. I won't really either. I'd much rather have them at this point. And it's really funny because I think a ton of people don't like doing reruns and don't care. But I'm also going to say that I don't think the devs necessarily understand that downtime is a good thing. And giving people something to do is also a good thing. So letting the players and the community choose as to whether or not they wish to do a rerun is one thing. Not giving them the option is another. And I think it's better to give players the choice, because again, your busybodies, your people that play the game every day will play the rerun. The people that don't give a crap about the rerun won't play, but they're not going to give a crap really about a lot of stuff in the game. So I'm going to say at that point they're probably less likely to be a like full blown, day-to-day player and more a casual player at that point. Yeah, if you're looking at it just in farming context, I don't think it's necessarily fair to Charlie. He's going to be a lot more with like challenge content. You can farm with him, but he's definitely a challenge unit. I wonder how much people are going to roll with these reruns. I think a lot of JP whales already got what they wanted. Yeah, I mean, I'm basically put on notice. I've got 2 Saberfaces coming up. I have the potential to fix my Oki Tan. And I have Draco coming back, who you guys know is like a unit that I've basically had my eye on. So you have a favorite Aoko Ascension, not including Superform? Her third. If we get the Tonalico costume, I don't want to like poo-poo anyone's hopes for that, but I just want to say that we very frequently do not get the anniversary CEs as an outfit. There are a ton of those CEs that I would love to have as outfits. So that would actually be one of the hypest things they could do, would be to bring in a bunch of those as outfits. Not the least of which would be something like Tonalico's. So I would hope we could get more of them though. Be able to fix that append on Okitan and JP if I get another copy. Like I'm still not convinced, and I've got to think about that sort of thing. I want the Lartoria one. Yeah, I would love the Lartoria one. That'd be really nice. Also chat on JP, just FYI, it looks like you've got like 15 hours to use teapots if you haven't already. I'm just noticing that myself. I don't have any to actually use at the moment. I got Charlie and P1 will rolling cream, and while he won't be a priority, I'll probably work on him later. Yeah, I think like if you guys are a more veteran account, if you've got a robust like crop of units, then you don't have to be super concerned about like trying to immediately level and use a unit. I still haven't leveled my Charlie or my cream or my my Roland. They're kind of just sitting there for right now. 1, because I don't need them. 2, because again, we are headed towards anniversary where I'll get a 3-time success rate. So I may just sit on things and kind of like let it happen naturally. I also probably need to do some FP rolling on my NA account. Those costumes will only ever be acrylic stands or garage kits. Yeah, it's really sad. I'll say this, to an extent, this is why I'm okay if they actually wanted to sell skins in FGO. Because I think there's a ton of people out there that are like, I would rather pay them $15, $20 or something like that and actually get a skin for the character that I like. Like, right? Like, so if that ended up funding the additional, like, sprite artist or animator or whoever the hell they had to do to actually get the costume in, I think that would be worth in the end. I'm planning to pop that Giga 5-star Ember stack this Annie. I probably won't. That Ember stack is going to be like it's going to end up being like basically the Final Fantasy Mega Elixir, where I never use it. It's there if I ever needed it in an emergency. But to be fair, your best time to use it is basically anniversary. So skins are $60 in other games. I mean, $60 is way too damn expensive. If they set it at that, they're gonna piss off a lot of people. Where are the windmills? Yes. We'll be talking about Don Quixote later this stream. He is a very interesting unit, and I'm going to have to give his kit a once over before I look at it because I am not super familiar with him. I have had the opportunity to use him. You do get at least one opportunity within Traum itself, and he is a very interesting kit. Pay good money for that idle event mash skin. Wait, which one? Because if you're talking about the traveling one where she has like the suitcase and stuff, that is actually a skin. When did you start unit reviews on JP? I think we're getting close to where you started. Not really. I started doing unit reviews about it was last January, so not this January, but last January. So basically 17 months ago. Got to make it a 24 months, so it'd be about another 7 months. And technically I did unit reviews before that, but they were usually one-offs for like very important characters. Can I ask a spoiler? I would prefer not. I thought both my Charlie and Cream as high as possible already. I use Annie for the grailing. Yeah, and I mean, that's probably what I will do regardless. It really depends. I may actually just sit down and do it, but I'm at this weird point where I want to stretch my embers as much as possible because I know how lacking I will be on the ember side of things. Basically, I can't even finish my current 120 project until I get one of the grails out of Traum because of the mistake that I made. And then my next 120 project, I will probably do at anniversary. I'll probably try to get it all done right there. So let's see. I need how many grails for that? I need 10 grails per 120, you know, assuming they're already 100. And so let's see, that would leave me 2 more from Traum. It's May, so we'd get June and July's set. So that would be at least 4 more right there. So that's 6. We will have the Hakenden event before it. I don't remember. Chat, does anyone remember if Hakenden actually has a grail in it? So it's like, I don't know if I'll actually have enough now. Of course it does, yeah. So, do we get one from the Grail front? Yeah, obviously. I didn't even think about that. We naturally get one from the Grail front. So, assuming we get the Grail front ahead, then that's 8. I would still be 2 shy. And I'm trying to think if there's another way in which we get Grails. Lucky Bag has one from Annie. Okay, so that'd be 9. Damn, that one grail is going to come back to bite me. Do we get another one in any way, shape, or form, chat? Oku main interlude has one. Yes, but I believe it's only if you haven't gotten it before. Did you forget grail casting? No, I counted it. That's 4 grails from that. Wait, do we get 2 at anniversary? Do we get one from the GSSR and one from like something else? We count the 3 from Traum, right? Yes, but one of those grails is spoken for. One from the mission campaign? Yeah, I'm going to go look right now. Oh shit, I gotta make that video. Okay, there is a Bond Grail from the login bonus. There are milestone updates. Daily mission revamp. Daily quest revamp. Storage expansion. No, I'm not seeing a grail from this chat. At least not from the campaigns. Oh wait, hold on. Limited missions. Nope, not seeing one from that. Fandom always does such a terrible job of detailing the GSSR, I feel like. Like it's displayed in like the worst format possible. It's sad because they do a good job with like everything else. Check DaVinci Shop one is there. I'm literally looking at the DaVinci Shop revamp, and no, there is not one. There is a Bond Grail. There is not a normal Grail. See, yeah, I am shy. And if the GSSR also doesn't give one, then I'm too shy. Good, I need all those Bond Grails. Soon you won't. Grail casting for the month? Yeah. That's basically I was trying to see if I could get to 10, but I don't think I can. So I'll be sitting at 8 as far as we're concerned. Let's see where Grail was added to the GSSR before New Year's. It probably wasn't. If you're too shy, you should work on your confidence. Have I ever struck you guys as a shy person? I mean, like, I'll say there are certainly situations that, like, I feel like can be awkward and that I don't necessarily want to, like, put myself out there in, but, like, I'm not really shy. Seem like an introvert, but not shy. I am both, because basically my mother is an introvert and my father's an extrovert. So, like, I basically go back and forth. I would say I do kind of default to introversion in the sense that, like, I like to be a homebody. I like to stay at home. I like to do things. But in a weird way, I also like to travel. I also like to go out in nature, and I like to do that. Like, I'm well-rounded, I guess you could say. Did you not get the joke? No, I didn't, because I honestly maybe had to do with the timing that I read it, but like the line didn't land for me. I have no idea what you're referring to, essentially. You said you were too shy. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, that's why. Like that just basically just flew right over my head. Out of all my huge farmers and support, Scotty and Oberon are somehow the only ones I have needed to use Bond Grails with. That's impressive. Like, I will say, if you do a good job of balancing things and using different units, it's usually not a big issue. But if you don't, it's a oof issue. Cad's haircut is too short for the jokes to land now, Sag. I mean, I don't know that my haircut's that short. We got 4 minutes until I could basically do the last one, but I'll go ahead and make the blue apple here. Because again, we're basically just going to be trying to, just like with yesterday, go right into the Don Quixote analysis. I want to like get that done, get that out of the way. Then I actually also have the numbers for Zhang Ju, so and I'm probably butchering that name. I'm sorry in advance. But I will, if we actually have the time, I might actually just go ahead and knock both of them out here. That way I don't have to like do anything tomorrow or anything like that. And the idea is, again, like, I don't know how long Traum's gonna take, but I would at least like to get as far as possible. Why'd you take the long way to get to blue apples? What do you mean the long way to get to blue apples? Or you're now going to be like, I'm so smart because I like try to use my AP and it prompts me because I don't have it, and then I go in that way. I mean, you can, but that's also how you make a mistake and accidentally pop apples. You can just click on the AP bar. Yeah, I that I'm aware, right? But I would prefer not to. Blueberry, thank you for the follow. Has anyone tried it? I have not. I personally don't like using that sort of thing because it's third party and non-official, and I have at least seen some misconceptions get formed from it. I've already accidentally used a blue apple instead of making one. There you go. That's usually why I do it. It's and like if you're comfortable using it, there's no problem. But that is usually like why and how I go make blue apples every single time. In fact, we are actually going to go make a blue apple because you guys can see I'm capped. There's literally nothing else to do right now in NA. And so far, Story has not been using so much that like I am running out of my AP because there's so much reading in Traum, at least in relation to how much AP is getting spent. It's a very AP efficient singularity so far. Ooh, that being said, hold that thought. I just realized that I have not done anything with my Bunyan points and stuff. Blah, 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 blah. I actually have enough to buy this stuff. May as well. Command code removers, I don't care. Grab the assassin monuments. Grab the lancer monuments to the extent that I can. I mean, you guys could see, like, this was a pretty funny. Oh god. Okay, so convert that up. Let's convert that up. And then, is that enough? That's enough for 2 of the 4, not all of them. And then I don't think I can convert any more into QP. Oh no, it looks like I can. And then, go for a dig. Dig Simulator? Yes. Yeah, I did do a little bit of grinding at the end because, like I said, I got the like 5th drop or 4th drop or whatever the hell. So I was literally like 1 away. I never got the final drop for the second MLB. I didn't try too hard in terms of grinding, but I did just go ahead and pop like maybe like 5 apples or something like that to try and see if it would drop, and it didn't. So you can see I am getting some extra stuff out of this, but yeah, I realized I'm like, oh man, I need to actually do this before it expires. Rip those 2 Lancer monuments, that's fine. I would have liked it if we got the idol event. That would have actually been a really cool one to get back. But there is some potential. Like somebody on Twitter was commenting on my post and saying like it'd be really cool if we got like a Canis like upgrade for Rider Canis, and if we also got like Blue Comma, like the outfit for that. And I'm like, yeah, that would actually be really nice out of Summer 6. So I don't think Summer 6 is a bad choice by any means for a rerun event, especially given that it is one that had not historically rerun. Oh, actually, hold on. I can spend a little bit more there. Let's go ahead and reset. And auto dig me one more. Oh joy. So yeah, basically like 47 boxes there is what I ended up with. I think if I hadn't popped, I would have ended up at something like 38, 39 boxes. So I really didn't get that much more. But okay, chat, that is AP spent down for right now. Let's go ahead and talk DQ. Oh shit, that was the wrong that was the wrong thing there. Don Quixotic. All right, yeah, actually let me take a refresher here before I start doing the C's, just because I want to make sure I get this one right. Right. Yep. Yeah, the only thing I don't like about this is that it basically requires more than 30, but it will only charge everybody 30. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I had to respond to someone there. Giant enemies, right. And giant's an interesting category because it's not super large. It's giant, which is, again, as you can see, its own segment of enemy types. Although it does kind of count certain things that are clearly not a giant. I think the way to think about it is super large can be anything, but giant is specifically a large humanoid. Frostwolf and Shinigami, thank you guys for the 32 and 34 months respectively. Hope you guys are doing well. Giant and Heart, yep. Yeah. Oh, by the way, chat. I did find this. Like, people are always asking about my setup. This is at least one of the pictures that I found scrolling through like my old stream stuff for like my setup. This is what's in front of me right here. So this is the mat that I play on. Proof it? I would literally have to like lift it up. I'd prefer not to have to do that because I'd have to totally redo my desk. Remember that, Matt? Yeah, I probably need to get a second one of it so that I can kind of like take this one out and like wash it and like have a backup basically. Okay. Oh god, they screwed Don Quixote so much. They screwed him so much. Where'd you get that, Matt? Oh, I don't remember. I think it was just off Amazon. Wait, was the second one 3 turns? Yeah. Okay. Did I spell Kaleido wrong? Yes. I before E, except after C. And Kaleido. um. I don't actually like this choice for him too much, but it's unfortunately one of the better ones. Yeah. Okay. All right. Just trying to think of chat. Can you guys think of anything that like I haven't thought of here in terms of craft essences to use in Don Quixote? I'm fairly confident in this selection, but like it is interesting. Isn't Mihoyo a full attack buster quick? Perhaps. Let me see. Yeah. They'll probably know because they're mixed. Yeah. Hello, Ein. The damage she. The damage she. Wait, which one? This? This isn't from it, is it? Yeah, this is Chaldea boys. The damage she from the current event. Quick buster, all attack. Oh wow! Actually, didn't realize how good this one is. Yeah, maybe we'll go with it. You were too distracted by ping pong. Was that? You're not wrong. Okay, let's go ahead and get this party started. Like I said, Don Quixote is not going to be one that takes very long. I do like his ascension stages, though. As you can see, his like gear gets progressively worse and more tattered. It's like this first one is like fucking amazing, and then this one's like normal, and then this one's like beat up to all hell. And then, of course, you get that, which is just such a like comfy final ascension. Okay. Hey guys, my name's Khadroth, and today we're going to be talking to you about Don Quixote, the Windmill Knight, as he's often known. So Don Quixote is going to be coming out with the second banner of Traum, basically our LB 6.5. He is a story-locked unit, so he's not, going to be easily acquirable outside of actual rate-up banners. That being said, he will be on rate up with Moriarty Ruler and actually the new 3-star caster that will be coming out that we'll be covering next. His basic shtick, though, is going to be his ability to actually transfer charge. That is to say, his refund is not going to be particularly good, nor will his damage actually be that stellar outside of his main niche. So the big reason that I think a lot of people might want him will be that, transferable charge gimmick. We're going to kind of talk about that as we get into the kit. But again, maybe you just like him because you like the character, you like his lore. That's perfectly acceptable, as well as he's a very fun character overall. So let's go ahead and dive right in. So as you guys can see here, basically, he does have about 8.6k attack. It is not a strong amount of attack, and this is not necessarily going to be the main reason why he doesn't do too much damage. A lot of that is a factor of multiple things kind of coming into play with the Servant, but certainly having lower attack than sort of the standard for a 4-star doesn't really help. I like to usually see 4-stars in the 9,000 range somewhere a little bit north of that, because we do even have 4-stars out there that do have things like 10,000 attack, which is really, really nice for them. But having a unit in 8.6k, it's not the worst, but it's also at least a cause for concern. It definitely means that amongst the 4-stars, he's not in that sort of good range that, you see a lot of others in. His HP value at least is a little bit beefier to kind of help that out, but he's still not quite at that 13k amount, which we do occasionally see a 4-star getting to. So the trade-off is certainly here. He is a much more robust unit, but definitely not going to be enough to really warrant the lack of firepower. Taking a look at his attribute here, he is Earth. He does have 93-star absorption, a little bit less than your standard for Lancers, and he does have star generation rate of 11.8%. And we do end up having a 0.71 NP charge attack rate. This is actually a very good NP gain rate. The problem at play here is going to be the fact that he is actually a single target. And honestly, the fact that he's also quick. Both those two factors are really going to end up hampering this. So while this does look like a good number on paper, please understand that it's going to be quite difficult for him to actually gain charge himself normally. He does have a 4% NP charge defense at least, which is a little bit higher than the 3% average for all units. And he does have a 32% death rate, which is higher than average. But he does at least have something in his kit to kind of help him out in that regard. His alignment is lawful good. He is male gendered and does have animal characteristics, as he does basically have an amalgamation of characters as his sort of compatriot unit. He is considered a group servant as a result of this. He does have a hominidae servant trait here, as well as humanoid loved one, which is the Brynhilder's beloved trait, riding servant, 7 knight servant, which is the Draco trait, and weak to Enema Elish, which is obviously Gilgamesh. You can see here his deck is actually pretty nice for what he is, given the fact that he is a single target quick unit. You're probably going to be wanting to use units like Scotty to buff him should you need, and especially with Summer Scotty kind of closing in on the horizon, coming up to us with Summer 7 this year. you can definitely bet that a double quick, double buster deck is going to help out. Why? Because Summer Scotty obviously can buff quick, but she gives buster crit damage, so having kind of that comprise about 80% of your deck as a quick unit is going to be a fairly good thing for that unit to have going forward. Still, obviously, it's not necessarily going to be the same as having an extra arts card that can help out a ton for NP gen, and that is why it is going to be one of his sort of greater deficiencies overall. Thankfully, he does have 5-hit quick cards to kind of help address this issue. That is maybe one of the reasons why they kind of didn't increase his NP charge rate even more, but it is still perfectly okay at the rate that it's at. He does have basically average hit counts on everything else, with the only exception being the Buster card there at only 2 hits. But if there's any card that we don't really care if the hit counts are not as robust, it's probably going to be the Buster card, because that one's focused way more on damage rather than star generation or NP generation. Now, as we look at his actual sort of kit here, you guys can see his first skill ends up being Quick Buster and a Self Guts. He does get 3 turns each on the Quick and Buster of only 20%. So again, this is kind of another thing to kind of throw in there with that low attack stat. He doesn't have much in the way of steroids in his kit to actually help out his damage. This is basically going to end up then combining with the Guts status for 1 time 3 turns of 2000 HP. It's a rather weak Guts, but it is still a Guts, so he at least has that hard survival aspect should you need to use it for whatever reason. And again, you can see all of this is going to be on a 6-turn cooldown, so it is fairly nice. I think one of the cool things that they might have actually been able to do with someone like him would have been to actually give him party-wide capability with these things, but you will see he does have that later on elsewhere in his kit. His second skill here increases his own attack for 3 turns by 20%. It basically charges his own NP gauge every single turn for 3 turns by 10%, and gains critical stars every turn for 3 turns by 10%. So this is just naturally a strong skill for him. It's actually a little bit more steroid to help him out. It's got that NP generation that he's going to need, that charge per turn, and it does have stars on it, as well as making it kind of a pseudo fragment of 2030 MLB, even though it's only got the 3-turn duration. All of this being on a 6-turn cooldown makes it a very coherent skill. But let's go ahead and talk about it a little bit more, because again, I said at the beginning of the video that Don Quixote's major gimmick is his ability to transfer charge to other units in the party. That's going to be one of the big reasons that a lot of people are going to go for him. So with that in mind, just to kind of let you in on that, he requires you to have at least 30% charge. And we'll talk about that with the third skill. But it's going to be a little bit important that he has this charge per turn, as this can help him get to that amount should you be trying to start him from scratch. Just keep in mind that the way charge per turn works is it always happens at the end of your turn. So if you're trying to get the actual 30% charge from this, not only would you need this Lord, but you would also not get it until the end of the 3rd turn. So if you're trying to do a 3-turn or something like that, this would not be enough at face value. That being said, he does have other ways of addressing that, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. Now, we get to the 3rd skill here, and you can see, just like I said, this is going to be a skill that he can only use when he has 30% charge or higher. He's got a 500% chance, however, to reduce his own NP gauge to 0 whenever he uses this skill. So it can only be triggered when he has 30% or more, and it will automatically drain him to nothing. He can charge the party's NP gauge, though, however, except himself. So basically, think of him almost like reverse Melt Lancer, where Melt Lancer basically steals from the party to charge herself. Don Quixote reverses that. He's going to steal from himself to charge everybody else. So it is an interesting idea overall. You can see he gains critical stars here of up to 20 as well, so that can help him maybe secure some crits. Could maybe help him try to get back some charge that he may lose from using this. But ultimately, at the end of the day, because these two things are tied, it's a little bit of a sort of spicy mechanic here. I actually would prefer this if his Star Bomb was on a different skill, so that you could use this to crit his way up to 30% charge to be able to use the skill. But it is the way the devs designed it, and it's just going to be something you're going to have to be cognizant of. You can see this skill is on a 5-turn cooldown, which is rather low, thankfully, but given the fact that the skill is a like self-drain down to 0, you're not going to be able to utilize this probably more than once unless you're in a longer form fight with sort of a challenge scenario in mind. Now, the thing I want to talk about here, though, is again that you can get 30% charge from numerous sources. It could be, for instance, from the charge per turn that he's getting off of his second skill. It can also be in combination with something like his mana loading, as you could get up to 20% just from that alone. Heck, even if you didn't lore the skill, just having the 10% would mean that in combination with his second skill lored, you would at least have the capability of getting to 30% by turn 3. So it would be something that would be possible should the need arise. But I think probably the most common and obvious scenario that I can think of that would come to mind with Don Quixote is going to be the scenario in which he simply just has a charge CE on him. In that regard, Don Quixote is going to function as a sort of battery pack for other units. And that's why he can be an interesting addition to your roster. The thing to keep in mind, though, is it doesn't matter how much more than 30% Don Quixote has. He is going to end up draining himself to 0. So really, there's no value in him having more unless you're trying to NP with him. Just keep in mind that if you're going to NP with him, it's kind of counterintuitive to using this skill, as it will drain him if you use it before, and you might not have enough NP charge after using his NP in order to be able to use it. So it really depends on how you want to handle things. It is certainly possible that you fire off his NP, get some cards after the fact, maybe you get some lucky crits, and you manage to actually get back to 30% in order to trigger this skill. That is obviously possible. But keep in mind that it's not going to be something that will be guaranteeable. It will have that RNG aspect, relying on cards, relying on potential crit capability, or maybe just the buffs that you have at play. So it is a tactic you can use, but it's not something that you can use guaranteeably every time. Still, I do think this is a very interesting skill. It's, to me, the big reason to pay attention to Don Quixote, and it is something that you can probably utilize effectively. I will talk about that a little bit more in a minute when we start going over craft essences and comp ideas, but just wanted to kind of get that out there to give you guys some food for thought. You can see now, looking at his passive skills, he does have Magic Resistance E for some additional debuff resistance. He gets Riding E for some additional quick performance. It is unfortunately not very good at all, but keep in mind he does have a 5-hit quick card, so the performance of that card is already probably going to be pretty good to begin with. He does get a unique passive called Traveling Attendant. This is going to increase his own instant kill resistance by 20%, and since we already said that he basically has a little bit higher than average at 32%, this is at least a welcome addition that's going to kind of cut that down some. Now, talking about his appends, the first and foremost one I'm going to absolutely recommend and think is non-negotiable in this case is going to be mana loading for Don Quixote. You don't have to go with it, but I will say this is the smartest choice by far, given that his third skill's entire gimmick is having 30% charge. You can cover up to 20% of it with just this one skill. So I'm going to tell you that that is going to be the obvious choice for your appends here, is your usage of your coins. His third append is Anti-Rider Attack Damage Aptitude. There may be some overlap, niche potential capability here with his NP, but I would tell you it is probably rare and not very worth your actual usage of the coins, especially since this is a story-locked unit that you probably will only be getting a certain amount of copies of. His extra attack finesse would be the one that I would actually go with as a second append should you have the coins available, as again, this is going to improve not only his damage of his extra attack, but also his star gen and his NP gen, something that again could potentially feed that third skill for you. Now, let's take a look at his Noble Phantasm. You guys can see here, he basically ends up having a 5-hit single target quick MP. This is, again, sort of the issue, is it is not a very high hit count. It is a quick MP, which naturally already just does not generate that much Noble Phantasm. And even though he does have a 0.71 NP gain rate, it really just doesn't amount to much because he doesn't have a whole lot of like NP gain or anything else in his kit. He's basically, with this NP, going to deal damage to one enemy. From there, he's going to deal super effective damage against giant enemies. And so that we're clear, giant is not super large. It is basically large humanoids, whereas super large can be basically anything that is big. Giant is a lot more specific and a lot more narrow. You can see here it includes things like the giant Nobus, ogres, Spriggans, basically humanoids, anything that kind of is walking on two legs. I know FGO has a little bit of a different definition of that term, but I am just kind of trying to rationalize it for you guys' purpose so that you have a better idea of what constitutes a giant. And again, if you're ever unsure, you can always come to fandom or something like this to actually look it up just to make sure. But this is a scenario in which Don Quixote can actually be a little bit more useful and actually pump out some damage. The unfortunate part to this is if he uses his MP that he's going to deal damage of 1,000 to himself. And from here, at least the upside is that he's going to increase the rest of the party's attack by 20% for 3 turns. So this is actually fairly nice. It's going to allow him to basically buff everybody else, potentially after, having drained himself if he's already managed to get back to full, or maybe do that after the NP. So that way he'd be combining a buff with also an ability to kind of pass on the charge. But again, it's up to you to determine how to handle that. His overcharge effect increases the party's critical damage as well by 20% for 3 turns. So you can see a lot of his supportive capability is actually tied to his NP. A lot of his selfish aspects are tied to his kit. He does at least have the ability to transfer charge in his kit, but that is kind of the one thing that he actually does confer with it. So again, that's kind of his overall capability in terms of his kit. Let's talk about basically his refund. So if we wanted to use Don Quixote in a 2-time Summer Scotty setup, this is going to be his ideal setup, basically the best possible support you can get him against a singular archer. The problem with this is, like we already said, he's single target, he's quick, he doesn't have a high hit count, he doesn't really have NP gain in the kit, he doesn't have very much in the way of quick steroids to help boost those numbers up. So in that regard, if you get even 1 hit of overkill, you are looking at a whopping 20% refund. The thing with this is including his 10% per turn. So he does not get a lot of refund at all. This to me is probably a massive oversight on the devs' part. I kind of get that they probably didn't want him to be able to actually, have that 30% charge naturally off the back end of his NP. But I actually think that would make Don Quixote more usable if they did. Still, even getting something like 20%, that maybe leaves it open to you getting an additional 10% from things like cards. So it's not impossible to do, but it definitely feels like the devs purposely gimped Don Quixote, especially since he doesn't have crazy damage numbers. I wish instead that they would actually come back and maybe give him another pass, give him a little bit of an upgrade somehow to kind of help make him a little bit more fluid and easy to use. Because I do think he's a very interesting unit. But I'm sure the devs are at least somewhat cognizant of the fact that they may risk actually making him a little bit too strong in certain scenarios. Still, that is kind of the idea that you guys can expect, is getting that 20% refund with 1 overkill hit. If you don't kill, it's basically 19% refund. It'd still be enough for rounding purposes, but it is a very odd amount nonetheless. And again, that is assuming a lowered 10% charge per turn skill there. So basically now with that in mind, we can kind of talk about craft essences for Don Quixote. You can see here, I can obviously recommend something like Black Grail. This is just going to be a standard recommendation for damage purposes, but I'm gonna be honest with you and say that, especially with the utility of the 3rd skill, starting them out from 0 is probably not the correct play. So I can recommend it. Just be very careful about how you utilize it and make sure you already have a plan for how you're going to utilize the charge in the actual comp if you're going to start out with something like this. Otherwise, the actual better pairing with him is going to be something like Kaleidoscope. Why? Because again, he does at least have the capability of getting his append, so you could potentially start him out at 100%, fire off that NP, and then maybe have him go to work, and if he can get enough charge by turn 3, he might be able to, at that point, transfer for everybody else. It might be a little bit RNG if you had to use cards, but it wouldn't be the end of the world. Certainly at that point, though, this would actually be the best in terms of just starting him out with raw capability in charge. It's also going to be kind of what you're going to need if you want to be able to 3-turn with him. But I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm going to say that that's going to be difficult nonetheless. It's certainly possible, but probably not something you're going to want to do too much. Traces of Christmas is a decent 50% CE option for him, and I can certainly bring it up. It is an older welfare CE from an old Christmas lotto. It is very nice in the fact that it's all attack scaling. It does give quick up and NP gen rate, and then it does give basically starting charge of 50%. I think 50% Cs are where you're going to see a lot of use for Don Quixote, just because that's going to be something that he will be able to easily kind of go either way with. From there, we can also recommend something like Holy Night Supper. This is actually permanently available now on JP, thankfully. And certainly for NA, this is still going to be one of your better options for quick units, as it is all attack scaling, does give NP charge, critical damage, and then basically just raw NP damage of 15% there. And then we actually, on JP, had a much more recent addition here with the Mihoyo collab that actually was the damage C that gives all attack scaling. And then again, quick and buster up of 8%. Additional damage for 20% against chaotic alignment enemies. It's going to be a power modifier there. And then basically starting battle with 50% gauge. Now, that seems like not that many recommendations for craft essences. The reality is you can use any 50% C, or heck, even any 30% C, even without the append, and that would be enough. This is actually where I think Don Quixote might serve a lot of usefulness, is sort of as an alternative charging unit in something like a lotto comp, something where you just know you're loading up the party with a bunch of like CEs that maybe would have 30% charge. Even if you didn't have MLB of them, it would still potentially work. And in that regard, you might be able to have him just transfer the charge and kind of not participate in the rest of the comp. Or it might be something where he actually manages to, you know, maybe get Qin-gonged or killed in some way and actually rotate out. He does have the guts to stop that from happening, but that would be up to you if you actually wanted to use him. Certainly you could use him offensively as well. That may be another potential use for him, would be to include him in a comp where he maybe in like turn 1 or turn 2 handles a single enemy wave, a giant enemy, if you will. And at that point, he's able to kind of like get in there, get out, and kind of do what he needs. Especially if you had someone like, say, I don't know, like Castoria in the comp, that's maybe giving him some overflow charge. It might be possible to just have him fire off the NP, get the overflow charge after the fact, and then use that to charge the rest of the party even more. So it is an interesting idea in terms of what you might want to do. Also, it doesn't have to be someone like Castoria. It could be someone like Arcuid, could be someone like Koyanskaya of Dark. Anyone that can kind of give the party 30% charge would work really well in conjunction with Don Quixote due to that requirement. Now, let's go ahead and talk about Don Quixote's actual damage numbers. You can see here, this is his self buffs only. This means nothing external like craft essences, mystic codes, or support buffs from a support caster or anything like that. You can see these are neutral numbers. Basically, again, it doesn't actually look that bad here. He does actually get 49k against giant enemies, and it's pretty solid. We do basically at NP5 get quite a bit more damage against each of those, but these are just raw numbers. So let's go ahead and talk about a potential charge scenario with Don Quixote. You guys can see right here that basically we end up with a scenario where he has to start with a kaleidoscope. This is going to be a 3-turn against a 1-1x type of node. Don Quixote's not really made for this. You can make him do it because, again, he has the capability of getting even 10% charge. And at this point in the game, anyone that can get at least 10% charge can 3-turn in a conventional setup. It just usually requires double Oberon to do that. Now, with the addition of units like Summer Kuro to the game, we do have even more potential capability, but that is just the general rule of thumb that we've been operating under for years. Certainly, we're going to be using Summer Scotty as well as the third support, the tertiary support, as that's going to allow him to basically get at least some amount of quick up. And so from there, you can see starting him out with the append and his 80% C, his K scope there. We're going to go ahead and probably pop the quick up from Scotty and have him at that point just fire off his first NP. From there, you can see he's basically going to get 10% regen from his second skill, only 7% refund, which due to rounding, this is not enough. It's not going to get him nearly enough charge there from that. But thankfully, the 10% is enough. So we're going to go ahead and utilize both Oberon 20% charge. And we'll actually have gone ahead and used the Scotty 50% charge before that and rotated her out for the other Oberon. And at that point, that's going to be 90% charge, enough to make up for this and basically bring you to 107 there. That's going to allow him to fire off the NP the second time. He's going to end up getting basically another 10% charge, another 7% refund. And then at that point, you have both the double Oberon 50%, and you would be able to complete a 3-turn loop with Don Quixote. Again, like I said, I don't necessarily recommend it, but it is what it is due to his sort of low refund numbers overall. So now let's talk about damage in this potential scenario. This is a level 100 K-Scope, a level 10 Neo Plug Suit, 2 times Oberon, and a Summer Scotty with Don Quixote. Obviously, his damage is going to end up kind of ramping. Remember, he does give party-wide attack up to the party after each NP, so he does at least get stronger in a loop, but this is not really the scenario that you want to use him in too much. You can see by wave 3 there, especially due to the Oberon third skill, you would get a decent spike in damage. Certainly against giants, you're going to get even more. And then basically with our sort of NP2 to NP5 numbers, we get the sort of ideal numbers for him. And it definitely doesn't look too bad. Just keep in mind, this is going to be against giants. Also, these numbers could actually be quite a bit higher should they include something other than a K-scope. That's sort of the issue at play here, is whenever you're utilizing something like a level 100 MLB Super Scope, all you're getting is basically the attack up off of that. You're not going to end up getting something like, say, a 50% C that has maybe quick up or NP damage up or something like that to help out. So it is nice to have nonetheless, but it's not as powerful as some of the other options. Now, with that in mind, this is kind of a good time to go ahead and compare him to some of his other counterparts. We do have units basically like Medusa Lily that can kind of at this point also be a 4-star. She's a permanently available one. And you do have 2 times Summer Scotty with Oberon being possible, at least for her. Unfortunately, it is going to be a level 100 K-scope as well. And you can see there basically at 330 at NP1, 413 at NP2, and 495. She doesn't have that same upside that he has with the giant buff, but she probably is going to be a unit that you might have in a higher NP level due to her permanence, or again, just has that consistent performance at least that she can pull off. Still, that's not a welfare. So we do actually have a unit like Summer Consort U that can do it with 2 times Summer Scotty, Oberon, a level 100 K-scope, and Neo Plug Suit. And right off the bat, you're guaranteed NP5. So for comparing to lower NP levels of Don Quixote, this is just going to win. Also, we do have the anti-male niche, which can definitely help out quite a bit in terms of raw damage capability. So while, again, he does have the higher upside, she at least is going to have that more consistently high damage number. And that's probably going to make a lot of people utilize her a little bit more. We do also have Kagetora, who recently got a buff on JP that definitely helped her out some. And this one is going to be basically with 2 times Castoria, Oberon, and a level 100 Sign of a Smiling Face. This is not a common craft essence by any means, unless you were around at the time to roll it, but it is sort of her best case scenario for what she can pull, and it does allow her to start from 0. At that point, basically, you're looking at 483k. So again, very consistent numbers comparatively. If we start looking back at Don Quixote, just to again remind you and give you an idea, really not nearly comparable in terms of that. And you would actually start needing stuff like at least NP2 to have any sort of comparison, really NP5 in order to start equalizing these types of capabilities. And then certainly last but not least here, we've got another 4-star in Summer Kyo. Now, Summer Kyo is at least Buster, so she has the capability of combining with Koyanskaya and Oberon a little bit better. She'd also have to have something like K-Scope in order to work, but you can see here that she has the capability of hitting something like 295 at NP1, 393 at NP2, and basically 492 at NP5. So again, Don Quixote can be better than your 4 stars. The 5 stars, though, are probably going to just kind of trounce him. And part of the reason for that is due to the fact that they just have natural niches that kind of come into play quite a bit. You've got Brynhildr out there with Brynhildr's Beloved. You've got basically Shisho out there with Anti-Undead and Divine. That can really work in her favor since a lot of archer targets are Divine. And then you end up having somebody like Enkidu who's just naturally strong, and even a unit like Melisande that can kind of flip-flop back and forth. So don't try to get Don Quixote and expect him to kind of outdamage all of your other units. He can certainly be better maybe than some of the other 4-star options, but ultimately at the end of the day, he's going to, I think for most people, be this sort of hybrid single target damage dealer / support. And I think in that regard, due to the fact that he can transfer charge, he is going to have at least a couple niche uses for a lot of people. So let me know what you guys think about Don Quixote, if you'll be rolling that second banner, and which one of Don Quixote's actual Ascension forms is your favorite overall. He does have quite a nice final Ascension art there, and I think it is quite wholesome. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. I will see you guys for the next one. Thank you guys for watching. Have a good one. Okay. Sorry about that, chat. Just real quick, let me take a look at my DM. Okay. Had to make sure that it was not a like super important DM. My thoughts on Dawn, most glorious beard and fate. Yeah, I mean, he definitely could put an eye out with that beard, right? Like, I can only imagine the type of like beard oils and like, God, he's got to use some sort of gel to get it to stay that way at that point. It is a nice beard, it is. Particularly like the wings that he has. Shortcake, thank you for the resub. Thank you for the 8 months, appreciate it. Hope you guys are doing good. That beard is a lot of work, probably. Probably. I know, like, that's my issue with having long hair is I never want to, like, have to do anything with it because I'm so used to having short hair. Dairy Queen, yes. DQ. Yay for adventure, yeah. He's 100% a cool unit, and I hope they help him out a bit. Yeah, I really feel like they gimped him, in all seriousness. He feels not good enough. And when I looked at his kit originally, I felt the same way. So it's really funny to me that now, like 2 years later, I still feel that same way. I still feel like they gimped him. That has not changed with all the times that I've seen people use him or that I have used him myself. So in that regard, I do think he could use a little bit of love. I think they really do worry probably about just turning him into this automatic 30% battery. But in all seriousness, when you end up having a unit like this in the game that is a 100% charger and basically has the ability to charge the entire party's gauge except self 30% with no downside, I mean, like, again, I know she's a 5-star, but it's like, it's not really going to be that broken of a thing for Don Quixote to have that. And he still has the demerit of requiring 30% charge in order to pull it off and draining himself. Whereas she can just kind of pop this, and the only requirement is that they're on Millennium Castle battlefield, which just means she can't do it turn 1. Hera, thank you for the 64. I love units with giant spears. I see. How have you been, bud? You guys still have the CE of the upcoming rerun event of Summer 6 and Lilum Harlot? Yeah. I don't throw CEs away. He's cool in Traum, but his gameplay's a little bit lacking. Well, I still think that could actually be really useful. Like, I gave you guys sort of the blueprint there for how to kind of use Don Quixote, right? A lot of that is going to be basically this third skill. It's you need to utilize him as this sort of battery pack, and I think that's the best way I can put it for you. Bob is committing heresy in VIP, saying he is fighting for ponies. I mean, it's probably not a pony that he's fighting for. He's probably fighting for a donkey. We NP5 your Draco. I'm thinking about it. Because like it's certainly been a long time since we've had a banner for her. Like it's been over a year now. And it's pretty clear that the devs are desperately trying to control Draco. And it's funny, right? Because I go back and forth as to whether or not I think this is something that is like, what's the word I'm looking for here? Like something that is basically a concern, and like they went too far and that's why they're limiting it, or they just know they went too far, they did it on purpose, and they're limiting the unit because they need at least one unit every single year that is highly desired that they kind of hold back. And I think it could be option A, it could be option B, and I just don't know. Got a new PC? Hey, nice. Now you can finally play solitaire again. JP has been eating good events-wise. Yeah, like I said, it's pretty clear to me that these reruns are stalling from the devs, but I'm okay with it. Like, I'd rather a rerun stall than like, I don't know, nothing, right? Has Art gotten a rerun banner yet? No. And at this point, it's like, I'm equal parts in like Avalon's camp, equal parts in it's probably just Arcuid. That's the download campaign. So potentially like Yang or Arcuid. It could be like someone like Tiamat or again Draco, but I get the feeling that Tiamat and Draco will both have their banner during the campaign so that they each kind of get a week. And if you think about that, right, chat, you go like Tiamat, Draco, and then download campaign. Okay, and so then this is week 1, week 2, and week 3. And you have just a solid week where that unit carries the load, right? But not the poster girl of 30 million. Yeah, and that's why like I think it's probably likely to be someone like Arcuid. The only issue with it being Arcuid is that historically the anniversary unit usually gets rerun at anniversary. So whenever the next anniversary comes around, usually in the past, the anniversary unit has gotten like an appearance on the banner. They come back. This is not always the case, though. They have absolutely not rerun the anniversary unit before, and that's why it's kind of weird. So it's entirely possible that she's the 30 million downloads campaign, or that she's not, and she's actually at the anniversary. So we really shouldn't expect the devs to come up with completely unique events every 3 weeks. No, and I don't. And that's why, like, so when the devs basically announced that they weren't going to be doing as many reruns, everyone kind of was like, huh? Because the devs were already struggling with content pacing, and it was like they just took the gun and literally just shot themselves in the foot. Or like, it was the meme of the guy where he's like, he turns around and he shoots the dude in the chair, and the dude that was in the chair that got shot was like reruns and stable content. And they were like, why would you do this? like they turned back around. Why would you do this? And it's like, you did it. We didn't do it. You shot yourself. Your friends get something to do while they work on whatever's planned. Yeah. Chat, that was a lot. I think we will probably hold off on doing Zhangzhou until tomorrow, because I know I'm butchering that, so I'll probably go ask some Chinese people how to actually say it. And two is just I would actually like to make some good progress in Traum. By the way, when are they going to do hunting quests again? It's been a while. I don't know if they're limiting hunting quests because they are worried about the economy of the game and how much they're already giving out with things like the daily login tickets, and then things like the storm pod nodes, or if it's a case of like they don't want to do it too much because of the whole like advanced quests and those CEs. It's really like it could be, again, option A or option B, and I'm not sure which. And it might be neither, right? There's always the possibility I'm just completely off base. But Jeezy, thank you for the 16. How you doing? Hunting quests are a thing most of the time, yeah. I think it's just that they've already been giving us way too many events that are like these mini lotto style of events, and they don't see the need to give more hunting quests because of it. They just say, if you want it, go ahead and farm. Like, just do it, right? And I think that's kind of their mentality on this. I don't know why it took so long for that to pop in. That was really weird. Okay. Chat, I'm going to kill song request, even though it is Cryptid the Necro Dancer. And we are going to start Traum again. I am just getting started on chapter 8. But yeah, I mean, again, you guys know the whole deal here. I'm going through this as Saberface only. If you guys want to watch alongside, you absolutely can. It'll make your story faster when you go to try and do it. But I totally understand if you guys want to, like, basically just lurk because it's spoiler territory. I finished it. It's good. Yeah, I'm really enjoying it so far. These back-to-back things in an A are starting to stress me out a little bit. I need time to QP and blue gems. Yeah, no, I don't blame you, Aniko. Oh. Okay, just Moriarty drip for no reason. We have a new sitting EX. He's the light to my shadow. I see. But yeah, no, it's why I've said, like, I actually don't like what NA is doing right now either. They're accelerating the schedule for seemingly no reason. They may well have a reason, but I think it's going to result in a more dead, like, end of the year for NA, and I don't think that's a good idea for them. So we'll just have to see. But I think it's like, I think at minimum, even if we consider things like hey, maybe they do need to squeeze it in front, and you give them that benefit of the doubt, I still don't think they have paced themselves well. They gave us 2 dead weeks, like towards the end of, I think it was January there, and they really did not need to give us that amount of time. Like, they could have made it 1 dead week and like paced everything else a little bit better, but instead they didn't, and now we feel like we're like constantly like overlapping everything. And I feel like NA is doing that on purpose to prevent the use of blue apples, to prevent the use of farming as much, and sort of utilizing these opportunities to like do half-cost story, farm embers when they're all on raid up and stuff like that. I think they're trying to limit those opportunities as well as cut down on the creation of blue apples, and I'm just like, I don't think it's a good idea. I don't think it's really a good idea overall to actually try and like manipulate your user base to that extent and to like try to mess with their capabilities. I think all it does is frustrate people. All it does is stress people out. I think it's better to just pace things nice and steady and allow people to process it as is. Our past rivalry is irrelevant. So Moriarty was full of shit, but we kind of already knew that because, like I said, I pointed out when he talked the first time to us that, like, he claimed he could predict everything and he literally didn't predict Vlad. Wait, we speeding up? No. NA's not speeding up so much as, like, they appear to be shifting things forward a little bit in time because they're probably trying to, like, sandwich the Grail front ahead of Anniversary. It is supposed to be that way according to JP, but NA didn't have to do that. There was no requirement to actually run the Grail front ahead of Anniversary because it doesn't involve any units that are actually, like, not already released. So they could have easily put it after Anniversary and their schedule would have flowed a lot better. But I guess they're trying to rush to get that in ahead, and I don't really see the point. I kind of understand they're probably doing it because there's upgrades attached to it, but it's not a huge deal, I think, for most people. But yeah, I don't think they're, like, trying to catch up to JP or anything like that. Oh. Bro's just sitting here sleeping. Well, I mean, I assume it's probably the True Master of the Singularity summoned either, like, 1 to 3 of the units, and it's probably the actual, like, leaders of each faction. From there, it seems like the leaders of each faction are probably the source of the command seals, or again, like, if they hold a Grail, they are the source of the command seals, and that's probably what's impacting, you know, all the minor servants' capability to actually use command seals. So it's kind of like a hierarchy type system. And also, this feels like it's a gigantic war, basically to, like, create sacrifices. I think it's so many grails to give out. I don't know, but it's like if anybody throughout history could find a holy grail, you got to assume it's going to be a heroic servant, right? In fact, several of them, well, not several, but at least one of them did. Given his background. He's gonna start to care, chat. Just wait. Just wait. We're gonna break through to Khadroth. We're gonna melt that ice. Can we just melt them? I hope. Okay. Ah, yes, the Cone of Silence. Right? No one trusts him because it's Don Quixote. You should be thanking Ryder Gordoff. Wait. Both luck, good and bad really can be a skill. Yeah, I guess, because we kind of see that at play with Lakshmi. She's E rank luck, but manages to like stumble into EX rank luck sometimes because of it. Like bad shit happens, but it works in your favor. Hey, what's up, Squeech? How's it going? Brody's like a dad at this point, which is funny because he's actually like young, right? Like he's like 20 something. Okay, thanks for the spark notes. Yeah, chat, I'm gonna go ahead and make a analysis. Incorrect. Incorrect. I actually think this is probably the biggest one. Army quality is top-notch discipline compared to Revenge Realm. The leader is Constantine. Pope Johanna also resides here. Like, these are a threat, but this is a bigger threat. I'm really curious as to how this was stated in Japanese. Like, disciple of a foreign god versus foreign disciple. Basically the same way. I figured as such. They probably just, you know, kind of reversed it around. I did not know she was here. That's actually interesting. I'm a caster. No, you're not. You're an alter ego. Also, what do you mean, who's that? Didn't we literally already interact with her? Like, I don't think it was in this form, but like, we did interact with Shufu. We should know who Shufu is. Unless Summer 5 happens after this? No, summer event is always canon. It's just like when it actually occurs is the big question mark. Also, wasn't she already in the lotto for us, chat? Like, this is even weirder. We don't know who Astolfo is here. I mean, that may be a hint, right? Like, there may be something more at play here. And let me go ahead and state this. There is 100% something more at play here. Just FYI. Oh, look, another unit that's going to work with Shufu that is not Shufu's card type. I can't tell if that's blood or yarn or something else under her arm there. Yeah, what is that? What is that red thing? Hello, Nika. How's it going? Well, the plushie is under her arm, right? Like, I'm asking what the heck is under that? Yeah, it's a U plushie. Thought it was a Zerker Coup plushie? No, it's Consort U. Shufu's a big Consort U simp. That's the red from U's dress? Okay. Oh, he's trying something. Time to trigger his collar. And what Archer said afterward about something feeling off. Wait, which Archer is he talking about? Because wasn't that in LB5? Where we actually said there was someone that couldn't be trusted? But it seems like he's referring to LB1. Yeah, maybe it was Billy? Old Moriarty interlude? I mean, maybe, but I doubt. He definitely did tell us that, so. Okay, so I think this is the jump in logic. This does not equal this. Just because you can't trust them does not make them a traitor. It just means they probably have their own goals. And the reason I say this is because I assume the person they are alleging is the person that can't be trusted as Holmes. I assume that's what's going on. Bring Waver in, yes. Maybe Waver's the one we can't trust, chat. So here you go. Can't see any reason a member of our staff would want to help wipe the earth clean. Nobody said anything about that. This is a jump in logic. It's an assumption that you don't know whether or not it's true. You're assuming they're a traitor, but they might not be able to be trusted for other reasons. They're working on their own agenda. And they wouldn't have tripped up if that agenda included working with Chaldea in the interim, like in the short term. That means the goals and interests align, and therefore they'd have no reason to ever expose themselves. Yeah, it's possible that that Xi'an is one of them, but I doubt it. Huh? Yeah, I mean, unless they're saying that we ourselves cannot be trusted, but that's an interesting play. I mean, in theory, though, aren't you betraying the foreign god by helping us? And the foreign god absolutely has a collar that could explode your head at any given moment. So it's just, you're wearing two collars. Well, chat, the easiest way to hide a lie is in the truth, right? So that's why I said, like, it makes more sense if we're being told we can't trust someone, that person's interests align with ours for now. Kind of in the same way that Koyanskaya and the foreign gods' interests aligned temporarily. So they didn't mess with each other. They were seemingly on the same side. What does foreign god even need the color? They don't. They like every single one of them is got the serious light in them, and it's implied that foreign god can just basically end them. Wait. Okay. Who summoned Holmes? Oh, I'm aware of that, Azrael. But if the serious light is used or removed, they die. And whether or not they were all given the serious light by Marisbury has yet to be clarified, at least on an A, as far as I understand. Again, JP, I don't know, so I couldn't say. So it's like, you have no idea who gave it to them, whether it was Marisbury in the end or whether it was the foreign god. They were all a backup bomb to destroy singularities, yeah. It didn't belong to either Chaldea's side or the enemy's side, but it was the land itself that summoned them, using the power of the Holy Grail, which spawned the given singularity. Yeah, I was gonna say, we first met him in the Atlas Institute in Camelot. Or did we not? He was at the Mages Association in London. Was he? He left notes? Yeah. I was gonna say, I think he was referenced. We didn't actually meet him. But I mean, to me, this is no different than like Musashi either, who is basically outside the normal confines of a summonable servant. Like, she is rogue in effect as well. How did he show up in Camelot and Shinjuku? Well, because he didn't get summoned to London. There you go, like Musashi. Yeah, and Shinjuku was the battle with Moriarty. I actually do trust him. My instinct tells me to trust him. Well, let me put it to you this way, chat. We already know, at least from what he told us, that Holmes was somebody that probably should have been a caster, but they wouldn't let him be summoned as a caster. Instead, he got summoned as a ruler. It was basically the system's way, according to him, of keeping him from obtaining ultimate knowledge. Whether or not you believe him on that premise is an interesting concept, but I think at minimum the thing that I can trust is, even if there is some extra aspect to Holmes, some ulterior motive, something that like summoned him or something like that, I think you can at least trust that Holmes is on our side, and that basically anything that he might have done would have probably been still for the benefit of humanity. That is to say, Moriarty might be telling you that you can't trust him because he might have some sort of, like, I don't know, Faustian bargain or got summoned by like something else. But regardless, it was probably a means to an end for Holmes. That is to say, he might have had to get his hands dirty to come out the other side, because Holmes being Holmes would have realized it was the only way to prevent a calamity or something like that. They're forcing him to be impartial, not go around revealing all the world's mystics. Yeah. Whoa, what? Use a really basic spell for sealing away memories. It can only be cast on targets consent to it, though, and it comes with some restrictions. What about me? How can I forget about this discussion? There's a file on Chaldea's library on the storm border number blah 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 blah. I hit a memory sealing spell scroll there under the Alpine Goat section. Damn, that's interesting. How did you do that, Khadroth? Because the storm border was not built while you were in Chaldea. And that means you had to have done this after it was built, after you were captured. How the fuck did you do any of that? Things we've been saying for a year. Yeah. Yeah, the Holmes theory has been a long theory that has been alleged that basically Holmes is sus. And it makes a lot of sense because exactly like he said, like, nobody really knows where Holmes came from. He just showed up. And when you think about who told us, like, hey, there's someone in Chaldea you can't trust. If Moriarty pointed the finger at Holmes and said Holmes, and he's the one you can't trust, you would never believe Moriarty. So Moriarty had to say it was somebody and didn't point the finger because he has a close relationship with Holmes. It makes the most sense. We need to get the answer ourselves. Yeah, he wanted to make us more aware, to make us more observant, and to keep us on our guard. But he knew that if he said Holmes, we would just disregard it because we'd be like, "No, I trust Holmes. I don't trust you, Moriarty." So his only play was to basically just allege that it was somebody, and not give a specific person. Oh, she got her toast. Oh. I know this exact feeling. I have a coworker that is exactly like this. And I can't really blame someone for being a morning person, being energetic. My only requirement is, please, dear God, don't raise your voice above a certain decibel level. That is my only requirement. Because, like, my coworker just is, like, shouting up and down the halls every morning, and I'm like, shut the fuck up. Like, it, literally, I get actually pissed because of it. Like, it is just annoying. Yelling in the early morning, I hate that. Yeah. And it's like I said, I get it. I'm not going to fault someone for being energetic. It's just, please, dear God, be respectful of everybody else. I'd also like to point out, just FYI, that again, the allegory to King Arthur is straight up here. The disguise, basically. Literally, Arthur also goes around wearing a hood. You can see the hair as well. Yeah, at least part of it, right? Like, right back in there. Wow, such uselessness. Thank you, Seton. I mean, I get it. They said he was as weak as a like weaker than a caster. So it's like he clearly needed to like, you know, get back to peak form, but also, holy shit, this is a long section. I know I've stopped to talk, but like, dear God. This is like the section that does not end. Saberface? Saberface, let's go. All right, maybe we can use someone else's Saberface. Who is this spicy czar person that's here? We can use them. Oh, this is my... Okay, that's fine. We'll do that. You know, I think the best way to handle this is what I like to call the Chi-Chi-Wei sandwich. The what sandwich? Yeah. Oh, technically my backline doesn't have saber faces in it. Chat, if I have to use my backline, I won't. But I assume you'll never see my backline, so. Failed run? No, it's all good. The sad part here is I'm only going to need one. We'll go ahead and we'll let Zars have the spotlight. She murdered. Why does Cad let you have two dads? Yes. Failed to use only Saberfaces, but I didn't. There was only one card used this entire run. And the non-saber faces were in the back line and never showed their face. And honestly, it would have been really easy for me to swap Helena. It would have just been Mash that would have been the issue. The problem with the saber face only run usually is that, like, everybody is 4-star and higher, so you have party cost issues. Why are you dazzling? Double the fathers, twice the disappointment. Party cost and well force supports. I mean, there's nothing you can do about a force support. So you normally let it happen, right? Was Diarmid sparkling like a bloody Twilight vampire? Because that's what he is. Oh, finally. Emperor QSH gets summoned. I don't want this coming back to bite me. Oh, so it's not the deal with every single one of them. So it's literally just the Vengeance Realm being edgelords. I see. Phantom Spirit level servants? Yeah, you're going to be able to cake them. It's got Gothic architecture, at least. Stop to give my brain a multi-day break. I don't blame you. It's definitely a lot of reading. Got too busy with other stuff? I'm sorry. Charles the Great's commandos. So we can definitely use Saberfaces again. Let's go. Chat, I will remove it from the back line just so that nobody complains. Is Roland going commando? Apparently not. Where's the 3-star or lower Saberface? Yeah, I mean, just to show you, right? Like, there you go. So I'd literally have to take less craft essences. I can fit 6 units in, but that is exactly how it would have to go. Also, what bond level are you? I haven't even checked. 8? Okay. Good. What do you mean Jason exists? Jason is not a Saberface. I've actually started paying attention, and the story is really good for Traum IMO. Oh yeah, I mean the story is actually really good for all of them, but I do think it's like if you've been skipping story, it really like takes a while for you to actually begin to care. You have to like start reading a bunch of them, but Traum is well written certainly, and I will say like as much as I like 6, I still have issues with the way 6 was written. I understand what they were going for, but like. It is still to me like in a weird way I am just thoroughly enjoying Traum and don't really have any issues with it, which I find kind of funny compared to something like 6 that should have absolutely been my wheelhouse. Fuck it, go for the kill. A blonde saber with a face? There's a little bit more to it than that. Also, not every saber face is blonde. My only issue is the MC is kind of dumb. I don't think the MC is very dumb most of the time, but yeah, I feel like there are certain points where like the main character is basically obtuse. Every saber shoots beams, right? Not every saber, but most should, right? We explained what rogue servants are, and I feel like we should know. To be fair, it really feels like this rogue servant is a concept that they have tried to promote only in like the past couple years. And I think they keep reiterating it, not necessarily for the main character, but for you, the reader. So it's like, it gets made to look like the main character's dumb for the purposes of conveying information to the reader. If that makes any sense. It's often something that happens with like isekais. And it's like, oh, well, the main character's dumb. They just had no way they could possibly know. So it's just a mechanism for delivery of info. Got it. Is FGO isekai? I think it has a lot of isekai elements, but is it in and of itself? I think it's an interesting question, right? Like, at minimum, you isekai yourself every time you ray shift. But I mean, like, there is a like hub world, if you will. It's more like multiverse than isekai. I mean, you could say that, like, from the servant's perspective, it's an isekai. I could agree with something like that. Caster, huh? Damn, I'm just gonna have to run double casters because there's a very, 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 very clear candidate for this. Yep, there's the candidate, chat. Hold on, where's the Khadroth seed? Did I miss it? There it is. How close am I coming? We're inching along. Not even all 10 SMH. All 10 what? Skills? I mean, I could lure it right now if I really wanted to. Usually I don't. I just like hold off on things until I'm ready to. But for the most part, most of my saber faces are all 10-10. Sorry, 10-10-10. The only exception would be a Pens, and well, I've already talked about that numerous times about why I think a Pens, at least beyond like the first one or two, end up being a scam for a lot of things. That's gonna be a problem. There we go. Now that's not a problem anymore. Isekai means other worlds, so multiverse travel is just isekai. Yeah, the only reason that I look at it is because a lot of people would tell you that isekai is a genre, and so handling it from that perspective, I think, like, no, it's a little bit different than your average isekai. But to me, isekai is, well, there you go, chat. Isekai is not a genre, it is a mechanism. It's a writing tool. Because all it really serves is the purpose of putting the character in a foreign place and making it so that basically you have an easy way of explaining things to the character, and by doing so, informing your reader. We got a surfboard? Yes, we did. Will you unlock more bond levels on surf mode? Fuck yeah. Ooh. That is basically fantasy for lazy writers. No, I disagree with that, right? Because to a degree, I think there's an intrinsic value to isekai, and that value comes in the value of escapism. There's a lot of concepts at play where chat, like, have you ever wanted to go on vacation? Have you ever wanted to go to like some, like, you know, tropical destination or far off locale? That means that you kind of wanted to get away. You wanted to escape. You wanted to go visit something that may as well have been the equivalent of a completely foreign world to you, right? That's the appeal of isekai. It's the desire to see sights unseen and to discover things that you've never, you know, heard of, right? So it's like, it's not just a thing that lazy writers do. The criticisms against isekai come of late, where it has been like a concept that got spammed quite a bit, and a lot of writers were lazy. A lot of writers were bad with how they chose to handle it. But isekai in and of itself does not have to be bad. Like I said, it's just a tool. It's just a mechanism. And it all depends entirely on how you handle it. Just like any tool. Like, you know, using a screwdriver for unscrewing screws versus using a screwdriver to stab into your hand. One of those is a proper use of the mechanism. The other one probably is going to hurt and be a hefty hospital bill. It really doesn't have to be bad. Yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm saying. It's not necessarily a laziness thing. It may just be the type of story that the writer is trying to write. To me, though, I think it's very easy to say that isekai is usually just fantasy, just with an extra step. And fantasy can be written good or bad. That is the way to think about it, right, chat? There's so many good fantasy IPs. There's also so many like bad ones. The Yankee in King Arthur's Court is an isekai? Yes, quite literally. I personally prefer proper or normal fantasy. Yeah, and I think there's a lot of stuff too where like people, I've heard people say like, oh, I don't like isekai because the like protagonist is always overpowered. And I'm like, you realize what you don't like then is not isekai. You don't like shonen. That is a very popular shonen trope. What is it, Sturgeon's Law? Vast majority of everything is shit anyways? Yeah, pretty much, right? Average internet user can't differentiate things. I mean, like, you know, like I can sit here and I can say like I disagreed with William's comments, right? Does that make me think that like William's an idiot? No. Like, I just assume basically that we are either of a difference of opinion or even possibly that, like, William was somehow uninformed on things, right? Like that's all I choose to view it as. So it's like, I think basically with regards to your average person being able to understand it or not understand it, it usually just boils down to how much do they know about these sort of concepts? How much do they think about it? Versus maybe like how much they don't think about it or how much they just maybe like absorb things that other people say about it, right? Like I think it's very popular right now to criticize isekai, and I think a lot of that just boils down to a lot of people don't like it, right? Like, and that's okay. I think it's like it's the same thing like with other genres. It's like some people might not like shoujo or shonen. Some people might not like slice of life. Some people might not like, you know, various other types like sports animes or something like that. So it really just boils down to taste at that point. And I think in general, people have a tendency to criticize something that is overdone or overused. And I can certainly agree with people that isekai is overdone and overused. You know, when you have quite literally a vending machine isekai. Bro, I don't know what you're trying to do at that point. And that one's actually not that bad, in all seriousness. There's an I can order stuff online isekai, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, one of the cooking isekais is like that, and it's fairly good. Though I will admit the stupidest part of that is like they basically have Amazon in another world, and it's instantaneous delivery. The one with the Fenrir, yeah. But yeah, like I know a lot of people get upset about isekai, and the way I choose to look at it is, again, just like, you know, like William was saying, is like, it's just fantasy to me. Like, isekai is just the mechanism for how the person gets into the fantasy setting. Like, that's it. And that's the funny thing is with most isekais, you don't hear about the isekai aspect after the first episode. It is literally a dude gets transported to another world. That's it. It's like from there on out, it's just fantasy the rest of the way. So it's like for most of them, I can just kind of like shove it aside. And I will say, I do think it's actually in a lot of cases more interesting to have an isekai where the person is potentially like going back and forth. That's a story where like the isekai being the mechanism actually does matter, as opposed to, yeah, like if you just get transported to the other world and that's it, you really didn't need to do that. And it just kind of boiled down to, it was an easy way for you to inform the readers of things, or to shape the main character, I guess. Like, I do think a lot of isekai comes from, again, that escapism and that desire to have a self-insert, right? Like, basically an everyman type of character that you can be like, hey, that could be me. I empathize with this character and their struggles, right? Jobless Reincarnation has done a good job of referencing back to the OG World IMO. I haven't watched the newest season, so I can't say. But I will say that I actually don't like how Mushoku handles that. Mostly because the main character, like, really doesn't grow. And just has this, like, I'm always gonna be this, like, fat, shut-in loser mentality. Right? Like, so, to me, it's... I would actually prefer if they did that, but he began to like realize that he's not who he used to be, right? He's been growing this season. Yeah, so like I said, I don't know. I haven't watched that one this season because I basically gave it up because I did not like how last season was handled. And that had nothing to do with the isekai aspect, really. I guess it kind of did. The prior like season, the main character spent the entire season dealing with a personal issue that was, I'm not going to say it's not a big deal, but it was not as big of a deal as he made it. And a lot of it was predicated on this concept of basically a very close character to the main character fundamentally like lying to the character the entire season. And I thought that was really dumb. And then in the process of that season, the thing that I absolutely then didn't like is the main character found out probably the most significant thing they could have found out since getting transported to that world. And it was kind of just glossed over. It was not that big of an issue for them. And I was like, that's ridiculous. I didn't like that. And that basically was like, yeah, I'll finish this season. I'll see how it ends. But if it doesn't end well, I'm probably done. And I didn't like how it ended. I was done with it at that point. The season's been great. Yeah, and I hope so, right? Like, who knows? Maybe if the show continues to be good and have rave reviews, then I'll pick it back up again. But for right now, I'm like, I'm good. I don't need to watch it. So Balfory is what you're interested in? I'm actually not sure which one that is. Mechanism of Isekai is not new. I mean, Alice in Wonderland. Yeah, exactly. It's been a thing for years on end. It's just anime has definitely, like, ballooned it, right? It became repetitive. Yeah, I can see that, right? Like, they basically formalized it. And I think at this point, if you want to be a good isekai, you need to do something different. Like, one of the best isekais out there is Konosuba. Straight up. And does it matter that it's an isekai? Not really. But it's just damn good, well-written fantasy. And that's really the truth of it. And it's funny, which absolutely helps. Yojo Senki? Wait, why does that sound familiar? Trying to remember which one that is. And I probably would be someone that would absolutely go her lolly. Oh, Tanya the Evil. Thank you. Yes. Okay. Yeah, I've had discussions of people with where Tanya the Evil is going to be headed, and I probably am going to have issues with Tanya the Evil. But I don't have issues with the fact that it's basically Lolly Hitler, right? Like, I just, because I'm at least able to detach fantasy from reality, whereas, damn, it seems like people really have a hard time doing that nowadays. And they're like, oh, you can't put that in a fantasy show, even though it's fantasy. Are you watching Slime this season? No, I also stopped watching Slime for reasons. And again, it's funny because I've watched like both Slime and Mushoku all the way up until these seasons, but I basically ended up dropping both for, you know, obviously different reasons. But I just, in both cases, I didn't really like where they were headed with the story, and I felt like they were doing some stupid things. Also love medical shows in general. You know, it's interesting because, like, do we actually really have like medical animes? Like, to me that feels like a very much like American and European trope nowadays. Maybe like a soap opera trope. Okay, so we have to use them. Yeah. It is a Berserker. Yeah, I'm okay with this. We'll continue to use Surfmo. But I will probably swap you with Bride. And I will probably just get rid of Deer Mud. Apothecary Diaries, maybe? I love Apothecary Diaries. That and I would say, yeah, that's probably like one of the closest ones. And that one's really good. Cells at Work. Cells at Work, I can definitely see how you could qualify it as such. But to me, Cells at Work is its own unique thing. Cells at Work to me is almost like just explaining the human body. It's more like a learning show than it is like a medical show, which is actually really cool about it. I was not a huge fan of Cells at Work Black because I thought it was overly morbid and depressive, but just in general, Cells at Work I think is great. Weeb Osmosis Jones? Yeah, quite literally. Bar Food Wars? Wait, are you talking about the barkeeping show that's currently on this season? I actually like that. It's pretty good so far. Like it's chill. It has a weird premise, but I don't mind it. It's an interesting take on things for once. Quite the dark horse of the season for me. My favorite shows this season are quite literally, and like I know it's localized wrong. I'm sorry for this in advance, but it's Go Go Loser Ranger. Like I said, I know that's not the true name of the show, but I really like the concept of that show. And Kaiju number 8, I fucking love Kaiju number 8. I don't know why. Kaiju number 8 is just awesome to me. So it's like those two are my anime of the season right now. I actually like I said, I've dropped a lot of the long running stuff. It's hilariously dumb and I love it. Yeah, it is. Spice and Wolf is hands down my favorite. Yeah, I mean Spice and Wolf is a classic and I have been watching it. Okay, sorry, I didn't touch my mouse, I guess, in a while. I was like, what the heck? But yeah, like, Spice and Wolf is a classic. I watched the original. I liked the original. It is definitely nice to get a show like Spice and Wolf coming back because it reminds you about how good writing used to be in anime. And I definitely think, for the most part, it's degraded quite a bit. And I think a lot of that has to do with, people are spamming mangas now. They're trying to like mass produce and they're always under the gun. And like, they don't have time to sit down, plan, and write to the best of their ability. Right. And so I think like you see that in something like Spice and Wolf. You see that old style and it really is good. Well, my favorite was they apparently did a promotional like live stream with Hollow as a VTuber, and people were joking that it was Hollow Live. I find that so fucking funny. Cute floofer, always good thing. Yeah. She has a weekly VTuber stream. Interesting. I assume it's the VA that's actually doing it. Also, hold on, I did not pay attention there. Yeah, let me just go back to the beginning. Oh, I feel like we should not attempt to revive Vlad, though. She's answering questions that get sent in. Interesting. I think my favorite this season might be Windbreaker. I've been watching Windbreaker. It's okay. It's not my favorite, but I've seen quite a bit of delinquent anime, and it's good, but it's not like my favorite delinquent anime. My favorite delinquent anime ever, chat, is Beelzebub. And I hate the way Beelzebub ended. It deserved better than that. About face transplant instead, yes. Can we count Gintama as that too? I mean, you could. I wouldn't though. Congrats, Burning. Ooh, Bradamonte's here. That's interesting. That's very interesting that she's on this side and not on the Righteous Realm side. Is GTO delinquent? I don't know. I've never seen GTO. I've heard good things about it. Well, don't worry, chat. You'll get a Bradamonte banner later this year. Cute Pope. You know what? This is all on his shoulders. And before he shows up, and then she's like, "Squee, I love him." Not the revenge of that wish? Sounds to me like Creamhill's fighting on the wrong side. Now, why does he care that one of them wins? Damn. So I'm wondering if he's the ruler overseeing the war, or if he's actually the master. Maybe he can be reasoned with. Yeah. Gambling is bad, said the character in the gotcha game. I hadn't thought of it that way, about him being the one overseeing the war. Yeah. Remember, anytime there's a Grail war, there's technically supposed to be a ruler overseeing it, but, you know, whether or not that's actually the case, I'm sure it comes down to plot convenience. I think, like, for instance, in the case of Fiyuki, the church basically fulfilled the role. I feel like they're not considering the fact that, like, you could revive him and he could end up just gravitating towards one of the other sides as the spell that Moriarty put him under basically completes. I do love these goofballs, yeah. Hmm. Maybe the cold is the seal? I don't know. There's a lot of potential effects it could be. It could be the foreign god. It could basically end up being something Holmes is doing to him. It could be something like, you know, his collar or some other thing like that. Well, I mean, none of them would recognize Don Quixote. Like, they're going to be looking for Charles the Great, and he's not him. Okay, finally another battle. What do we get to do here for this one? So this is going to be the required use of Don Quixote. And it is all archers. Okay. Oh, I actually have all the slots. The rare second Black Grail. Okay, he's got to be in the front. I do hate having to like redesign comps like this though. Something I really, really, really wish they would do a better job of. Never tell you what the fuck? Oh, okay. See the new Assassin's Creed trailer? I did. It's stupid. I think the trailer is really good quality, but it is a cinematic trailer and not gameplay, so that is what that is. I will say I think it's kind of weird that they used Yasuke, because normally Assassin's Creed comes up with their own protagonist, someone that is ahistorical and not involved in any way. So using Yasuke just kind of comes across as pandering. And I've seen a lot of people be like, oh, if you don't like this, you're a racist and stuff like that. And I'm like, I don't think that's the case. I think it's just quite literally people are like, man, I couldn't wait for there to be finally a Japanese Assassin's Creed, and they didn't make the protagonist a Japanese person. So I can understand why people are upset about that. And I'm right there, like myself included. Like, I'm not going to say that Yasuke isn't an interesting character. He is a relatively blank slate that they can use, but I low-key just wish they had gone with any number of other interesting people that they could have chosen if they were going to choose a historical Japanese person. The money's on it totally being a flag for them to wave. Yeah, 100%. I do believe that's the case. Chat, as tempted as I am to use him, I will not. Well, these are not man traded. Is that'll be compared to Ghost of Tsushima? Yeah, Ghost of Tsushima comes out on PC tomorrow, chat. Actually. Yeah, it is the top seller right now on Steam. It was only $60 instead of $70. Nice. There we go. Or maybe I need to look into this for what? But yeah, like, and I did see a bunch of people saying like, ooh, that trailer today reminded me that Ghost of Tsushima is coming out. So it's going to get compared. I think a lot of people are probably just going to prefer Ghost of Tsushima. But we'll see, right? Like, the benefit that Ubisoft has is they literally can take a look at everything Ghost of Tsushima did and try to improve on it. But the downside is I already think that this story will probably just be weirder. And I did say it's kind of odd to me that they didn't go like Koga versus Iga clans and like do assassins versus assassins. Like, this could have been a really interesting one for the Assassin's Creed franchise. And right now, I'm like, I don't feel like they're trying to make it interesting. I feel like they're trying to just pander. I feel like it's like, okay, fine, we'll do a Japanese game. Here's what you get. Rather than like, hey, let's go all out. And I will say again, just so that we're clear here, I have no problem with Yasuke being involved. Like, I think that it is an interesting character to include. My only issue is like, I'm surprised they made it the protagonist. Especially because like, as far as an assassin goes, like, Yasuke is gonna stick out like a sore thumb in, 1500s Japan. and I say this as somebody himself that is 6'6", right? Like, anytime I go anywhere, I get stared at, like, just because of how tall I am. So like, I can only imagine being like the sole black dude in 1500s Japan, and like just how much of a spectacle you would be to people, right? Like, you would not be able to like be inconspicuous in the slightest. Someone pointed it out to me earlier as well. It's like, in reality, it's like it would almost serve as a really good distraction for an assassin. Or at least a thief. Never once depicts him surpassing his human limits. Huh. I wouldn't assume her combat prowess is unrivaled. I would assume that she has capability, but... Well, from everything I've heard, apparently the ninja girl is going to be like the stealthy, agile one, and Yasuke is going to be like the big brawler. So at least they didn't like really try to make him stealthy, if that's the case. But it is funny because I'm like, yeah, this just sounds like it's quite literally the same as Ghost of Tsushima. You could either play as a ninja or as a samurai. Peter's dressed as a clown because they'd be looking for army guys. Yeah. I wouldn't be shocked if he did stealthy stuff with the big lad. I wouldn't be either. And I will say that, like, that's kind of my issue with Valhalla, is that, like, I think Valhalla is a great Viking game. I think it needs to be detached from the Assassin's Creed franchise. And I think, like, the second you start trying to consider it an Assassin's Creed is kind of the minute it falls apart. Berserkars. Well, I guess we can attempt a loop. Cad, Ghost of Tsushima versus Sekiro. I'm not a huge fan. Like, Sekiro is my least favorite of the Souls-like games. I wanted to like it a lot more, but I did not like its implementation of mechanics. So for me, it's definitely Ghost of Tsushima. But I will say Ghost of Tsushima has one of the best stories in gaming over the past couple years. Like, I rated it a 10 out of 10. It was like a fairly perfect game to me. I really like that story. I'm actually looking forward to being able to do it again, especially because, like, I didn't play the director's cut version that actually had the expansion, so. Japan can't play Ghost of Tsushima multiplayer because of PSN. I assume that's a localization issue, because Japan basically can buy it through their own means already. But yeah, I guess at that point it wouldn't be on PC. I don't know, right? Like, it's really weird to me. Look, I'm not gonna say that Sony isn't doing some dumbass shit. It is. I don't know what the fuck Sony's plan is. Like, I can fathom what their goal is. I just don't think it works out for them in the end. Later, Pip-Boy. I like Ghost of Tsushima so much more. Yeah, like, I don't know. Sekiro is an interesting thing, and I think it definitely gave them some concepts to employ in things like Elden Ring, but yeah, it's just different. Sekiro has the snake, right? Yes, it does. The snake is not why I didn't like it, though. I mean, I'll say it didn't help, but... Was it too rigid for Sekiro? A lot of it was just, well... There were numerous factors for me, right? Like, I basically didn't like the fact that they kept reusing bosses. I didn't like the kanji being the indicator because I had a difficult time telling the difference. I didn't like that everything had to be perfect parried, essentially, other than that. Even though the parry system was more generous than it was in like the Souls series, it still felt far more difficult to perform and pull off than something like dodge rolling with iframes. So in that regard, I just did not prefer it. But I think probably the thing that ate at me the most, more than any other thing, was just simply the fact that it was a canned, like, main character. Like, it is this main character, you must use this weapon the entire playthrough. Which on Souls-likes, I like getting different weapons with different, like, you know, weapon arts or, again, unique attacks and stuff like that. I like changing up my gear and everything and, like, seeing how the build progresses throughout a playthrough. So I didn't really ever get that same feeling with Sekiro, because the only thing you really changed were your, like, ninja capabilities, and, like, that was kind of it. And I just, yeah, I didn't really care for it as much. So to me, a big chunk of why I kind of gave up with Sekiro is I wasn't having fun. I wasn't enjoying the boss battles, and I basically felt bored the rest of the time. So I just kind of said, like, no, this is good. Like, the more I played Sekiro, the more I just wanted to go back and play Dark Souls, is essentially what it did to me. And I know I'm weird in that sense. I'm not saying Sekiro's a bad game. It's just, it's a me thing at that point. Oh, yes, 3 guts. Fantastic. I'm so glad that I paid attention and took in Surf Mo. Okay, in before Vlad just like insta-gibbs me. I completed Sekiro, but the one weapon thing got bored near the end. Yeah, like I get it, right? Like, at least to an extent, it probably helped with things like the parry system because you didn't have different parry timings based off your weapon. It was just different parry timings based off of the enemy that you were fighting. But yeah, I can at least understand how. 98. Fuck off. What is that bullshit? You know, I probably could have played that better. Could have just actually instead flip-flopped, but we're gonna go with that. And I'm gonna hope I can take that beating, but I might not be able to. How many turns is that? 3? Oh, well. Wow, no Surf Mo cards, so I wasn't getting the 3rd NP anyways. Shit. But yeah, like I said, I know I'm the weird one on Sekiro. So. Because again, like the game won Game of the Year, people really love it, people rave about it, but to me, it's my least favorite of the Souls-likes. Like I prefer Bloodborne over Sekiro. Yep, there it is. Okay, now he could taunt and murmur. This is definitely getting spicy in this regard. I should have just used Nero Bride as the devoted damage dealer. Bro, you really just gonna sit there and unironically taunt Castoria the whole fucking way? The man said no. I wonder if he taunts just the leftmost person. I went in not expecting something like the previous games. Yeah, I mean, like, I knew it would be different. I just, the way it was different, I didn't care for. Right? If that makes sense. It's like I wasn't trying to be unfair to it. My leftmost got the taunt as well. Interesting. Yeah, it's definitely left. God damn it. Okay, he's still got a whole nother one left. It's actually funny because both Surfmo and Bride still have their solemn defense. Neither has lost it. Ooh, that was taunt glitch. So basically, because he killed the taunted character, it reset and he had no more actions. I'm gonna laugh. I'm gonna laugh if Vlad actually wins this. It is entirely possible I lose. Yeah. Oh boy. Oh, maybe it's not taunt glitch. Huh. That's also really weird. Yeah, I think this is a loss. I think this is GG. Damn, I didn't even get the break there. That was the only hope. All right, Vlad, kill me. No crits, yep. All right, we withdraw. We try that again with a much, much, much better comp. I actually have an easy way to defeat that, but like, holy crap. Oh my god, that actually used all my stamina as well. Or sorry, not stamina, AP. Okay, so for starters, and I think we take this one a little bit seriously, and we at least give K-scope some starting charge. How many guts? 3. I was wondering why you weren't using double X. Because I literally, like, you had to set it up before you read the story, and I just, like, was not thinking and just went in with the same comp. That's all. Like, and that does occasionally happen to me on a Saberface run. I was not considering the opponent I was facing. Okay. No, we'll go with it like that. A little overkill. I don't remember Cad's stance on blue cubes for Saberface only. I've only ever used one command seal. And that was at the beginning of the Saberface only runs back in Shinjuku. So, what do you think my stance is on blue cubes then? Like, I will not use them unless I absolutely have to. Yeah. I didn't have to use any revisor leyline stones this chapter, which I think is probably the first time this has happened in a story chapter for years. Oh, nice. I normally don't have to, but like I also have a stacked account, right? Like, and I know that. Plus, usually on an A, I have the benefit of having done the fights already on JP. He actually chunked her quite a bit there. So, like, I low-key just kind of know what the deal is. So he still's got one more left. Probably didn't even need it anyways. Yeah. This singularity does have at least one hard fight. Like one that I remember, right? But I'll probably be able to get through it. Yeah, it's like most of them are not that difficult. They're just more or less gimmick fights. And part of the problem with that is like it's difficult on JP when I'm not sure what the gimmick is and it's fresh out of the box, right? Did you play the JP version? Yeah. So it's like I don't remember every single fight off the top of my head, but I do remember the difficult ones. Also, Vlad predates 17th century, if I remember correct. Yeah, he's like also 1500s. Or is it 1400s? I don't remember. Sometime around then. It was like, oh, he'd be more strong. I'm like, oh, he wouldn't be as strong as his prime. Oh, damn. Vlad, are you okay? Yes, I'm Chad Kroger from Nickelback now. Please look at this photograph. Mid to late 1400s? Okay, yeah. I was trying to remember when the Ottoman invasion of the Balkans would have been. Yay for adventure! There you go, yes! Yes, we have to gaslight Khadroth! Yes! Oh, finally some payback against that snarky asshole. Amused by her antics at this point? Yeah. So he literally caught him by the head. So quite literally, this is just turning into a comedy. Vlad's gonna give us a hug. Oh, okay, or he's gonna introduce himself. I want that. Oh? She turned into the Duchess for a moment. Oh, the princess, sorry. Deal with it. I love Don Quixote. They're great. Like that. It's funny because like the last like pairing servant that I really remember is Dioscuri in LB5, and like I fucking hated Dioscuri in story. So like getting Don Quixote in here and just watching them like play off of each other, it's great. Makes me want to roll for them so much. Yeah. Jesus, come on, computer. Some of the best lines in the chapter, yeah. I just like the one that she had earlier where she's like, oh yeah, sir rides my ass all day. It's like, bro, what? I'm actually surprised they put that in. To be fair, if they censored ass, it would just seem even worse in people's heads. I have no idea what the translation was in JP. I assume it was a similar reference, though. Like, because so the whole point is like Sancho, sorry, not Sancho, but like Don Quixote's mount is a donkey. So it's like, it was a donkey joke is what it is. And donkeys are often referred to as jackasses. Who would think ass is a donkey and not your rear end? I mean, ass is a common term for a donkey. Like, and I think a lot of people do know that. The only, like, way I could say they dropped the ball is they didn't make it clear that that's what, like, she is. They did say earlier that she was his mount, but I don't think they ever specifically specified that she was a donkey. Like, she's technically a horse girl, chat, but she's more or less a donkey is what she is. They don't, if I remember correctly. Yeah. You'd have to know the story of Don Quixote at this point. Yeah, exactly. So it's more like an Easter egg in that regard. But they 100% played off of it. Escape is no longer an option. Including her being his steed. Yeah, so it's just you would have to know what Don Quixote rode in his actual story. And like the entire point to Don Quixote's story is that like he's kind of having delusions of grandeur. So his donkey that is his mount, he thinks is like his like regal horse, right? Like that's how he views it. It's the same thing with the windmills. He assumes the windmills are giants. So it's like it's kind of like the story of a Spaniard who's a like Chunibio, where like he straight up thinks that everything is like this like more elaborate version of what it actually is. And it's just because he wants to go off on a grand adventure. Man went too deep into the LARP. Yeah. Epic tale of imagination. Right. A lot of egotistical self-importance Spaniard knights of the time. Yes, that as well. Because they hadn't really done anything. It was a time of relative peace, if I remember correctly. Well, at least the old man gets to get constantly taken care of by this woman, right? Like, you could have worse fates as an old dude. As actively delusional in the face of reality, yeah. Well, the whole point is that chivalric code basically at the time was viewed in a very like rigid idea, right? Kind of like how like modern day chivalry is like, oh, you're supposed to hold open the door for people and stuff like that. But even now, stuff like that is viewed as like, oh, it's like you're just being God, what's the term for it? Like chauvinistic, right? Like you're straight up like assuming that a woman needs the door open for her or something like that. And it's like, no, it's the problem with that is more of a individual person concept. And what a lot of it actually is just like basically people trying to be nice, people trying to do the right thing. That is chivalry. And so it's like that concept has evolved over time and people understand that, but not everybody ascribes to it. Sometimes I truly hate this age. Yeah, it's like you're just doing a nice thing. If someone was like, I don't need the door held open for me, I would literally just be like, all right, and then I would just walk in myself. People are usually happy when I hold the door open for them. Yeah, I've never had anyone like object. It like, chat, I'm gonna be honest with you. The reality of this, so we're talking about a thing like mocking, you know, the ideal with reality. So the reality of this is there's probably nobody that will ever say anything to you for doing a nice thing for them. It's quite literally just stupid, perpetually online idiots. People that like don't live in reality that will sit there and complain about that sort of thing. Right? There's nobody that is going to sit there and like, oh, hey, that person did a nice thing for me, I'm going to be an ass. It's only when they're talking on the internet about like a situation that might occur, right? Like, and that's usually where they go like way too crazy. So again, my advice to you guys, touch grass every now and then. It will help. Like, go actually talk to a person. Not on Twitter, not on Discord. Social media is a blight. I think social media actually really helps in a lot of degrees, but yeah, it is, I'm going to say, outweighed by the downsides of it. What is this grass that you speak of? Yep. Yeah, chivalry is a noble concept that should be aspired to by more people in general. That being said, if you think chivalry is getting in the way of doing what is right, you're probably not understanding chivalry. And that goes like even in the story of Don Quixote. Like, it's probably that the Spaniard knights at the time, and again other knightly stories that were being written, did not really understand that. They had a much more warped or rigid viewpoint. That like you must do X or Y, and that is what is chivalrous. Without getting punched in the face for it. Yeah, and it's really funny because that quote from Mike Tyson is actually very similar to I think it was a quote from Thomas Jefferson back in the day that said that modern man was uncouth, and the reason that ancient man was much more civilized is because ancient man had to fear his head getting cut off. I don't remember the exact quote, but it was something to that line. What's up, Crossed? Okay, so we are in section 11Z's chat. Never mind. Okay. So this is going to be it for me tonight. We're going to stop here. I'm still lamenting just how slowly we are moving through this. If this continues, we will probably be playing Traum all week. We will abstain from my other plans, and we will try to devote as much time as we can to this. It may even be the case that I have a Saturday stream with y'all, and we try to like sit down and finish Traum if I'm still not done, because this is taking a long time. Part of it is I'm having fun with it. I'm enjoying the story. I'm analyzing the crap out of it, and I'm really just having a blast with it. So I hope you guys are enjoying it too. I know again that it may be considered spoiler for you guys, but you guys always have the opportunity to get ahead of me, so it is what it is. Let me see if there's anybody else on. Anybody else I can give some love to. Wow. Nobody other than Fox again, so I will send you guys over to Fox's channel again. It's rare for me to raid someone for the first time and then raid them again the second night, but again, I hope you guys enjoyed your time with Fox yesterday. Go give that man some love, and again, I'll be back tomorrow. We'll be doing Zhang Ju, or however you say his name. I have no idea, so forgive me. Again, I'm probably gonna butcher it, but and we'll probably be doing more of Traum, as that'll be par for the course since nothing came out on JP. So thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys for the next one. Go give Fox my love, and have a good evening.